about the time of the start of service. Why do I say that? Because I've never seen so many people here for Orthros. Ever, in any church I've ever been to. So, whatever you did, Father, do it next time. Some of you may be surprised to know that there is a service before the liturgy. And it's a service in which, if you're attentive to Byzantine music and if you are following along in the text, and nowadays it's easier than ever to do such a thing, all you do have to do is press a button on the computer and a Greek and English text comes out for you. If you don't know where to do that, ask Father, ask the choir director. These things are so accessible these days if you wanted to come and follow along with the Orthros. Because many will say, you know, I know the liturgy by heart, I come every week, it's the same thing. The Orthros, that's not the case. In the Orthros you hear specifically hymns about the saint of the day or the feast of the day. And there's a lot of teaching in the Orthros. And so it's a good thing to learn the habit of the Orthros. If you don't do it every week, okay. But occasionally, and especially on a great feast, make an effort to come a little earlier so that you can get into the spirit of the feast. Today is a kind of, I'm treating this as the Feast of St. Spiridon. I'm aware that that happened 2 days ago, but I am blessed with 2 churches of St. Spiridon. Out of my 52 parishes, I have 2 to St. Spiridon, one in Clarksburg, one here. And every year I make an effort to go to both of them. And so I did spend the day in Clarksburg. And you know, I've been wondering why St. Spiridon? What makes him so very popular? You know, we have so many, hundreds of saints in the Orthodox Church. Why do we have, well, of my 52 churches, 14 are named for the Theotokos or the Evangelismos. But, you know, and then I have a different saint, St. Paul here. I have a Holy Cross here, a Holy Cross there, an Ipapandi. But I've got 2 St. Spiridons. And the answer in Clarksburg was that, and it may be true for you as well, but I'll share it with you. And you may all know this, but for me this was news. When they established the church in the early part of the last century, all the Orthodox churches in America at that time were on the old calendar. Okay? The Church of Greece had not yet gone to the new calendar. That happened in the 1920s. And when they established the church, they were millmen. They were men who worked in the mills and in the mines. And they all got Christmas off. Christmas, by the old calendar and the new calendar are 13 days apart. So when everyone was going to church for Christmas, the Greeks came together for St. Spiridon. It was the same day by the old calendar. So that gave them a saint to gather around on Christmas Day. So there's an association in calendar time, coincidentally, between St. Spiridon and Christmas. And there's association also in character. St. Spiridon is known as a great gift giver, a giver of spiritual gifts, a giver of miraculous gifts, a giver of healing in particular. And he's beloved of East and West throughout Greece. In his earthly life, he ministered in Cyprus. Trimithous is in Cyprus. But in his second career, his post-retirement career, after having gone to his eternal reward, his holy relics over, in a story too complicated to recount to you now, ended up in Kerkida, or Corfu. And now he is regarded as the patron of Corfu as well. So on Cyprus in the east, on Kerkida in the west, on both sides of Greece, you have St. Spiridon pouring out his miraculous healing. You know that St. Spiridon is one of those peculiar saints that we call the incorruptibles. That is, he may have abandoned his body. He left his body behind, as we all leave our bodies behind, but his body did not decay as our bodies decay. If you were to go to Gerkira to see Saint Spiridon, who died in the year 350, you'll see that he's a little thinner than most of us, he's much darker than most of us, but he's bolosomagos. He's not a skeleton. He retains his form. A few saints have been given that grace. My saint, Savas, who we celebrate on December 5th, who died in the year 532. Those of you who visit his monastery in Palestine will find him asleep as well. There are some saints that God allows to remain with us in this very special way, in order to remind us of that all things are possible with him. And so in the person of Saint Spiridon, God continues to shower us with gifts. Today we heard a gospel that the church places close to Christmas, about a sumptuous banquet prepared by a rich man. It's a parable. Jesus liked to communicate eternal truths in a simple and earthy manner. He didn't give people theories about how heaven and hell are structured, or about, he didn't theorize. He didn't talk like other teachers did. He didn't examine the law in ways that was meant only for fellow lawyers. You know, he was a different kind of teacher. He talked to people in terms that they understood. And they understood farming, and they understood fishing, and they understood business transactions, and they understood parties. And so he talked to them about eternal truths in the language that they knew. So he started, a great man gave a great party and invited everyone. Now, who wouldn't want to go to such a party? I mean, think of the monotony of life back then. I mean, my life was plowing and sowing and harvesting and mending nets and casting nets and cleaning fish and making pottery and weaving clothes. I mean, it was a drudgery, except when there was a marriage, except when there was something to celebrate. Then musicians would come out, and then wine would flow, and then dancing would happen, and the good food. So if you wanted to think of what's the best thing that could happen to you in that context, an invitation to a great party. That would be wonderful. How much fun. And yet, a great man prepares a great feast, and to the surprise, probably, of those listening to Jesus, people are turning him down. Oh no, I bought a field, I have to go check it. Business comes first. Have me excused. No, I bought 5 oxen, gotta kick the tires. Business come first. Have me excused. Oh, I got married, my own party. Have me excused. And Jesus says, the host of the party, when he heard the news from his servant, responded in anger and said, go out to the crossroads and bring in the crippled and the lame and the people that you don't find at parties. I'll show them. And he brings in the blind, the crippled, the lame, the hungry, the poor. And the servant says, I did what you said, Lord, but there's still room. He says, well, go and compel people to come in. I want my house to be full. But I tell you this, those who are invited, they're not going to get here. There won't be room for them. Now, what did those people understand Jesus to be talking about? Who were the people that were turning down the invitation Jesus was offering? But the high class of the Jews, the Pharisees, the scribes, the priests, the experts in the law, those who believed that they had a checklist of things to do and not to do. They understood what God wanted in terms of commandments. They didn't understand what God wanted in terms of deeper things. They felt, oh, I don't eat on these days, I give 10%, I do this, I do that, I'm okay. Who's this Jesus? Where did he come from? Where did he study? What are his credentials? And look at the kind of people that are attracted to him. Tax collectors, prostitutes, sinners, the blind, the crippled, the maimed. So in a sense, the first people hearing this understood that he's aiming it at the Pharisees who are not responding to him. And they understand themselves to be the blind, the crippled, the maimed, that have been brought into the feast to their surprise. But Jesus says there's room for more. I'm not satisfied with just leaving. I came first and foremost to the house of God, to the Israelites. But if you're not going to respond, I'm taking this further afield. I'm going out and bringing in the Gentiles. I'm bringing in Greeks. I'm bringing in Arabs. I'm bringing in barbarians. I'm bringing in the people you would least have expected. You Jews have imagined for the past 1,000 years or more that God would come and vindicate you in a peculiar way, that your Messiah was going to be a Messiah just for you. You've misunderstood. God was preparing you to receive him first. It was always his plan to go out for everyone. But now that I'm here, you've furthered my plans by rejecting me. You rejected me, I have so much more room now. Come in, you Greeks. Come in, you Scythians. Come in, you barbarians. Come in, you Arabs. Join the party. And now when we hear the parable, it doesn't have that much force anymore. Now we don't realize what a shocking thing it was. It's true for most of Jesus' parables. You know, we hear them enough so that, you know, we think we know what they're all about. We've already heard the ending. There's no suspense, no spoilers. I mean, you know, we know the whole story. And we just kind of sit through it and wait till it ends. But you have to appreciate that these stories were meant to burrow under our skin, and to stay with us, and to trouble us, and to make us reflect, and to ask, where was I in that story? Was he talking to me? What was he saying to me? Now we're not worried about the Pharisees and about the riffraff of Israel and about the other. Now it's changed a bit. Now the question is, what is the banquet? And did I get an invitation? And how did I respond to that invitation? The banquet, this is a foretaste of the heavenly banquet. In heaven, heaven will be a bridal feast that never ends. Heaven will be the party to end all parties, a party that never ends. Not in the way we understand parties, not with dub music or whatever it may be and flashing lights, not that kind of party, not where the drinks flow until you drop. But the party, what does a party speak to us about? It speaks to us about fellowship. It speaks to us about creativity. It speaks to us about us coming out of ourselves and about us making connections that are joyful and exhilarating and renewing. And that's the language Jesus uses to describe what waits the blessed ones. It's a party of sorts, a bridal feast. But we can enter into it here, in the Eucharist. A party, a feast that's available to us whenever the church celebrates the Eucharist. And the host himself is the main course. The host offers himself to us. He becomes what we dine on. He comes to us as bread and wine, but we know through faith that it's not bread and wine. It's his body, it's his blood. And in giving us his body and his blood, he's giving us his life. He's saying, take me home with you. I don't want to be separate from you. When we dine on the Lord, he's no longer just an idea. He's no longer just something that we think about, someone from a distance. He's circulating in our bodies. He's nourishing our bodies. And not just my body, but the body of the person next to me who received him as well. And the person over there, and the person over there, and the person over there. He's feeding all of us so that all of us can grow together. You know, there's that story told of, there's a joke that's told in many different forms about someone who dies and goes to heaven, and, you know, he's being shown around heaven by St. Peter, and the punchline is usually, oh, what's with that big wall over there? And, oh, the Catholics are on the other side, they think they're the only ones here. You know, that's, in a sense, what the Eucharist is supposed to be breaking down, you know. The emphasis, the Protestant emphasis, if you'll allow me, is to stress my personal relationship with God. It's me and God, and that's all that matters. That's never been the Orthodox emphasis. The Orthodox emphasis has been us and God. God in us, God for us. I receive God, and you receive God, and you receive God, and together we come to God. It's not, I don't care what the other person is doing, that's none of my business. His salvation is his personal matter. I know I'm saved. That's not it. It's, God has offered me salvation. I want my friends and my family to be with me. I want them to be saved as well. I want our relationships to be eternal relationships. And I'm going to help them along the way. Bear one another's burdens, says St. Paul, and so fulfill the law of Christ. We take Christ in to become more Christ-like. And we become more Christ-like when we live for the other. And so that's the whole purpose of this feast that's prepared for us, that we can become more and more like the host himself. And so, how long is it now? 11 days. And we'll celebrate the birth of the Lamb who will give himself for the life of the world. The Lamb who will become our food. The Lamb who will become our reason for coming together and our access to the Father. So, when you hear the call, I hope you don't find excuses. I hope you don't let business or your personal life or whatever it may be, I hope it doesn't get in the way of this opportunity that God has invited you to. This opportunity to celebrate with him true life in all its richness. God bless you. Blessed feast.